feel like we should do fireworks on the night of the 3rd, and then you have the day of the 4th off to do your during the day barbecues and stuff. Because I feel like you have the whole day, you're doing barbecues, most people are probably having a few adult beverages.
Oh, yeah.
You're out in the sun, you're by the pool, you're maybe in the ocean. And then the fireworks come at night. And then the next day, the 5th, if the 4th is on a Wednesday, like this year was on a Tuesday. So like the next Wednesday, like going to work sucks.
It really, I hate the 4th when it lands on a weekday.
Yeah.
It's just, I can't do it. We get the day of off. So it's nice if it lands on like a Friday or a Monday because we get that day off. If it lands on a Thursday, we'll get Friday off, which is very strange. But because it's on a Tuesday, I'm like, well, why don't we get Monday off? It's just nice. Ends. But it's fine. It's the kids enjoy it, I think, more than I do these days anymore. It's just kind of another day for me, which maybe that makes me sound unpatriotic, whatever. But it's just like, okay, drink some barbecue and fireworks. Like, it's fine. I kind of would rather stay home and drink at home.
Yeah. I don't mind the fireworks. It's the large groups of people that
it's too many people.
I'm not particularly fond of.
Yeah.
Circling back on something that I said before, a little peek behind the curtain. This episode, if you're listening to it, it is either July 5th or later. We are recording a few days ahead of time. But welcome to the final episode of season 1 of the Canon. We made it through our entire first season with only a few hiccups. Ramona and RJ are back for this very special final episode. We are, of course, talking about Jaws. That's why we're starting with 4th of July, sort of tradition, stories, all that good stuff. Because obviously Jaws takes place around the 4th of July. So it's kind of super fitting. And we're back with more Steven Spielberg talk, the king of the summer blockbuster. And this is maybe the first summer blockbuster, but I guess we can get into all of that stuff in a little bit. In terms of, I don't really have any major traditions or anything for 4th of July, but I think my most memorable 4th of July is memorable for the wrong reasons. I ended up working all day one 4th of July. I was at maybe in like my mid-20s, and I was at a buddy's house for a barbecue. So all my friends were there, and they're eating hamburgers and hot dogs and, drinking Budweisers and stuff. And I was sitting there in the corner with my laptop out, trying to send out emails and whatnot. And it was probably the most memorable for a bad reason, but still a memorable 4th of July.
Oh my gosh. That does not sound enjoyable at all.
No.
So you were with your friends, but working.
Yeah. So I had some hot dogs. I had some hamburgers.
Were they giving you any crap for that?
They definitely were giving me a lot of crap for it.
That's awesome.
I have a good friend who every 4th of July, he will recite the speech from Independence Day.
Oh, that's amazing. I love it.
My God.
So I did close my laptop for that.
That's great. That's a great movie.
I feel like that's going to be a new tradition for me. I'm going to start that this year.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome.
Are you going to recite it yourself, or will you get someone else to?
I think I'll do it myself.
Nice.
Yeah.
And then pass it on to the kids.
Just so that my kids can be like, what is wrong with you?
No, they're going to be like, oh my God, Mom, that was so inspiring. Did you just come up with that? Yeah. And then you take credit for it until they're old enough to watch Independence Day or have already seen it.
Oh, you know what? I don't know if we've watched Independence Day.
It's such a fun movie.
It's a great movie.
Yes.
Not in the canon.
It is.
No, shockingly.
Very shocking. I
never
watch Independence Day on 4th of July. I do. I don't know if they still do it.
I do try to watch it Independence Day every year.
It's a good day to watch it, obviously. I used to watch like the Twilight Zone marathons on the 4th of July, which is not like a very 4th of July show. I just remember that there were always marathons.
Still a great show.
Still a great show.
Yeah.
And if I wanted to like avoid the heat and not go to a barbecue or something, I would just sit in the AC and watch the Twilight Zone all day.
That sounds
sounds like
like a nice thing for me. Just sitting
Yeah.
in the air conditioning watching a really great show
Right?
marathon. Yes.
I mean, we should be able to do whatever the hell we want to do on Independence Day,
And
right?
you know what? If you would have asked me what I would want to do on 4th of July, like 20 years ago, I'd be like, oh, let's go out. Let's go to barbecue. Let's go downtown, whatever. And now I'm just like, like, do we have, even with the fireworks, like, come on. The sun has already
Yeah.
set. It's like almost 10. Do we have to get up and go somewhere?
We have to go to
But-
work tomorrow.
Yeah, I have to work. It's a work night. Like, I have to work tomorrow. It's just so
Yeah.
sad.
million
But
degrees.
yes, it'll be like 95 even when the sun sets. And God, I sound like a curmudgeon. Whatever, it's
Yeah.
fine.
I really feel like the founding fathers could have picked a better time of year.
Why don't they just do like, okay, well, we gained our independence on this day, but Independence Day can be celebrated on the first Saturday of every June, and the first Saturday in June, like they do with Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
It's the third Thursday in November, I
There
think.
you go.
Or is it the fourth Thursday? I can't remember. But just give us a set holiday on the weekend
Yeah.
or on a Friday so we don't have to go to work the next. Well, a lot of people probably still have to work on the weekend, but me specifically, so I don't have to work the next day. That
Yeah,
would be
give us a
lovely.
long weekend.
Yes.
That's all we're asking for is a long weekend.
How are we going to really celebrate this country's greatness and independence in one day? It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing says freedom like,
Not working.
making sure that being able to do whatever the hell you want to do. You're not forced to go see fireworks or, be out in the hot sun at a barbecue.
Yeah.
Just
It's your freedom to do what you want to do on
exactly.
this our day of independence.
And it's also our freedom to not have to work the next day. So let's make it a long weekend and everyone will be happy. I feel like that would, I'm no politician, but I feel like that would solve a lot of our country's issues. If we made the 4th of July a long weekend.
Unless a beach is closed because of great white shark attacks, then you do not have the freedom to do what you want and go swimming. Just don't do it.
Well, even if the beaches are open, you don't have the freedom to do what you want to do because you have some scumbag mayor, pushing you into the water essentially. That guy.
It's a no-win situation.
Why don't you get in the water? The whole time I was thinking, why don't you get in the water, you jackass?
Right.
Why don't you take off your silly blazer and why don't
go
you
for
go
a
for a swim? Yeah.
Yeah.
Lead
Set
by
an
example. Yeah.
Wow.
All right.
I
think
feel like
with
he does
that,
a really good job of representing politicians, though.
It really
yeah.
does. It really does. And watching this movie again, we're closing down. We need to close down the beaches. You're going to have people who are screaming about it's their right to swim. And then if you keep the beaches open, you're going to have people who are, how could you do that? Why don't you close the beaches? It's just, I felt for Brody. It's really no win situation for him.
Yeah.
it really was. Yeah. It's like an oddly very political movie.
It's very relevant.
The mayor just like
today.
just forcing his will on everyone.
Uh-huh.
And I feel like there's a subtle media cover up, because I'm thinking, if I knew someone got eaten by a shark, I'm not going in the water. I don't care how many other people are getting in the water.
Correct.
Yeah.
But then they've got, the newspaper out there taking pictures. Oh, we killed the shark. Look at the pictures in the paper.
It's
Yeah.
a lie.
And nobody wants to hear from the scientist who says, no, that's not the shark.
Fake news. It's not
Fake
real.
news.
I don't believe what my eyes are showing me.
It's it's hard to ignore all of the parallels to some more recent times of things that have happened, not shark related, but certainly somewhat similar in the name of keeping small businesses alive, but eventually really ruining their bottom line because I don't think anyone's going back to Amity next summer, the summer after this movie takes place.
No.
That would be my
Not
guess.
for a while. Unless they need a sequel.
I've never seen the sequels. Yeah.
I've seen one, and that was
Don't
enough.
don't watch the sequels.
Yeah, I don't know if I need to.
Well, I've seen. I think I've seen all of the sequels, but the second one I've watched probably several times, and the other ones I've seen once or twice.
There's only one that I've seen, and I don't know which one it was because I was, again, very young and probably shouldn't have seen it. And all I remember is I think it was Brody's son gets his arm chopped off or like eaten before he dies,
Oh,
and he's on a
nice.
boat. I don't know if that's 2 or 3, but I'm sure it's one where the shark has some vendetta against his family and is tracking them down. I can't. I don't know which one that is.
I think that's Jaws the Revenge.
That's probably it. So I saw that one. That's the only scene I remember, and it still gives me the heebie-jeebies. So,
How many
but
sequels are there?
Oh, that's a good question.
Like way more than there should be. That is the answer.
Yeah. There's. I don't know that there's any good sequel for Jaws. It's not like, Jurassic Park. We're like, oh, this one was pretty good. Whatever. I think all of the Jaws sequels were garbage. And I guess I can't really say that about all of them since I didn't see all of them. But I think I'm looking right now. There looks like there's 3 sequels, 2, 3D, and The Revenge.
I don't think Jaws 2 is bad.
It's
not. I mean, it's not as awesome as the first one, but it's not bad compared to the other sequels.
Did you see 3D?
That is the one where they're at. It's like a water park, right? With Dennis Quaid. Yes.
Dennis Quaid is in that one. Oh,
Dennis Quaid.
Was that straight to
Leah
video?
Thompson. I don't know. I don't know.
Yes,
it
takes
must have been in
place.
theaters if it was 3D, right?
Yeah, you're right. But I wouldn't put it past anybody to release a 3D on VHS. But yeah, it's a water park.
Yeah, it's like a SeaWorld kind of park that somehow a massive shark gets stuck in and people can't find it. Yeah.
And Jaws the Revenge had Oscar winner Sir Michael Caine, who missed actually accepting his Oscar because he was filming Jaws the Revenge.
That was obviously amazing. A good move.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm sure he thinks about that quite often. And probably
that's a wonderful
not
piece of trivia.
Yeah. So
that's so cool. Not cool. That's so funny. That's so funny.
It's such a shame. Why didn't you get your Oscar? I was filming a movie. Which movie? Jaws, The Revenge. God, poor Michael Caine. It's okay.
A less fun piece of trivia about Jaws. This was one of my parents, if not their first date, it was one of their very early dates. And it scared the living bejesus out of my mother. And I don't think she's been in the ocean since.
That's awesome. I need to talk to your mom. We can have a support group.
I feel like that's probably a common story.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that movie was very traumatizing. One of my parents' first dates was singing The Exorcist. And my mother begged my mother told me she begged my dad and begged my dad to take her to see The Exorcist. And he took her to see The Exorcist. And he tells me on the way home, she was screaming and crying and asking him why he took her to see that movie. They're still married, so it's good. But she's like, I don't remember that. But he's like, yeah, she did. She yelled at me.
That's wonderful.
Yeah.
Oh my God. RJ, do you have any good early first date stories?
It's not a first date story, but there's a family story about my mom and my aunt, my dad's sister, going to see the Amityville Horror.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And as the way I understand it, I believe that my mom ended up in my aunt's lap. Like, she was so terrified.
Isn't that great? I love stories like that. People just get completely wigged out in these movies. I love it.
Yeah. She loves scary movies, though. It doesn't matter how much they scare her. She still loves
Some people love being scared, and some people just, they can't handle it. And,
no.
I do love being scared.
I enjoy the Jaws and the Jurassic Park level of scared. I do not enjoy true horror movie kind of scares. I had the stupid idea to one Halloween I asked my brother, we didn't have anything going on. I was like, let's go see The Grudge.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
I don't like scary movies, but I thought this would be a great idea. And it was not a great idea.
You know, after I saw The Grudge, I was checking under my blankets a lot. Like, I was like, why do I watch these movies right before I go to bed? But I like those kind of scares. I'm not big on like I don't know, like the really gory Saw kind of horror movies, but
No.
I like Halloween because there's not a lot of gore in that one. I love the Scream franchise, you know, The Conjuring. Those are the kind of like horror movies that I really enjoy. I don't want to see somebody like at the Final Destinations. My sister is obsessed with that franchise. I'm like, I just don't have, I don't want to sit down and watch 2 hours of really, really creative ways of killing people. It's to me, it's not scary. It's not scary. It's just yucky. So I just don't watch them.
So I think that's a kind of an interesting place for us to start, because with Jaws, right? I kind of like a movie like Jaws because it's the scary stuff. It's avoidable. So like with supernatural scares or like slasher scares, that's all stuff that's out of your control. If you're scared of being eaten by a shark, you can do what my mom does, and you can avoid going into the ocean.
Yeah.
But I wanted to ask the question, what genre would you classify Jaws under? Because it is a scary movie, but is it a horror movie? Is it a adventure movie? Is it an action movie? How would you guys sort of define it?
I would say more thriller than horror, but you know, it kind of straddles the fence. I wouldn't necessarily say action.
Okay, so we'll limit action.
There, not enough guns and explosions. Although there's some guns and explosions.
There is an explosion. I don't know. I feel like a lot of Spielberg's movies, it's hard to really lump it into one genre. I would see it as a thriller. I think that in some way it is horror, but at the same time, it's hard to say it's just, oh, well, this is a horror movie and that's it. But like you said, I think it is. And even adventure. Is it really adventure? Because I don't know that these guys are having a lot of fun with this problem. I hear adventure, I think like The Goonies and, you know, Romancing the Stone.
Venture out.
That's true. They do venture into the ocean. So, I mean, I could give that a pass, but I would say thriller, you know, even like kind of a drama in a way. Maybe 1/8 adventure because the end. But I wouldn't classify it as pure horror, which is what I really like about the movie. Is it's not, hey, do you want to watch Jaws as a horror movie? Because people who don't like horror, they're going to be like, no. But if you say, hey, this is a really good thriller, you want to watch it, I think more people would be like, yeah, and they might actually enjoy it. It's not your typical, you know, bloodletting slasher flick.
Although the first scene is like pretty hardcore horror. The way it's shot and composed and everything, and like the way it plays out, it's like terrifying. But then it's sort of, the movie kind of eases up from there.
It's a great opening. It's a great opening.
One of the best openings of any movie ever. I think we can say that, right?
It's giving you, it's giving you that foreshadow. And not to, I don't have any plans to keep running back to Jurassic Park, but the very first scene in Jurassic Park with the man who gets caught by the raptor and sucked into the cage. And then it goes to Grant and Ellie in the desert, and it kind of eases back a little bit, but you know, there's something really dangerous and horrible that's going to happen. So, and I see that with watching Jaws again. I saw that in that first scene. It's horrifying, more so than Jurassic Park was. It's just, it's almost disturbing to me. And then you get pulled back into the, you know, setting up the characters and everything before we go back to Jaws or the shark. So that's what I love about it. It kind of like makes you tense and feel kind of gross inside. Not in like I can't believe I'm watching this, but kind of like that poor woman. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, everything's okay right now. So I love kind of starting with that tension and that suspense, and just kind of like, we're not going to jump right into it on you, but you're going to remember what happened.
Yeah, and it's going to be sitting with you for the rest of the movie.
It really does.
Yeah. I think the scariest part of that opening scene is after she gets eaten there's just a still shot of the water, and it's so like serene and peaceful, but you know that you just witnessed someone getting brutally attacked. And then for the rest of the movie, whenever you see still water, you're like, I can't trust this. You're like, it looks peaceful, it looks nice, but it's not all that it's, made out to be. I know there's something lurking down there.
Yep.
Yeah, Spielberg.
That's why I don't trust any water anymore. Any water. If it looks nice, even a lake, I'm like, I don't know what's under there. I can't.
Something's lurking.
Yes.
I think I watched or read something somewhere about the filming of that first scene, and I don't recall it specifically, but I think that the actress's fear and horror was pretty authentic. That just filming it was pretty scary. Because they had like cables attached to her, and they were just like jerking her back. Yeah.
Her reaction, though, and I think that's what makes it so disturbing. It's not so much like the jerking her around; it's her reaction to it. Her pain comes through very clearly. Just like her, maybe that's what it is. It's like her cries about how it hurts, and oh my god, it sticks with you, and you almost kind of want it to be over with, so she can just chop her in two, so she's done. Like, so she's out of this torture. It's horrible.
And then you have the guy passed out on the beach. That's
jackass boyfriend,
none the
of course. And he's probably like, "Where'd you go? God, idiot."
Well, he wasn't even a boyfriend. It was like some guy that she met at the.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
On the beach, because as they're running out there, he asks, "What's your name again?"
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Ugh,
idiot.
Men.
That's right.
Sleeping through everything. Brody's great.
Brody is not the worst, but the mayor.
No.
Oof.
The mayor.
We talked about him before. The mayor is actually the worst, and we'll get to Quint later, but he's maybe somewhere in between.
Yeah,
that's all I'll say about that for now.
He's not great, but I do give him somewhat of a pass because I feel like this film is his. He's working out, or the character at least is working out some pretty serious trauma. So,
for sure. Well, so is Brody. Let's talk about Brody for a little bit, because Brody's a great character, and he's also definitely working out some trauma. And I guess sort of similar to how Spielberg doesn't really show the shark a lot throughout the movie. You just know that it's there. Kind of doing the same thing with Brody and his trauma. Like, we know that something happened. We know something happened in the water. We know there's a reason he left New York City. But we're never given like really anything. It's just sort of hinted at throughout. And I feel like that sort of mystique makes Brody so much better throughout the movie, or such a more enjoyable character throughout the movie.
Yeah. It's the pretty reluctant hero.
And I like that, like you said, we're not really privy to the specifics of it, but the actor is Roy Schneider. I almost said Rob Schneider. God, Roy Schneider. Sorry, Roy. So sorry.
It's Scheider.
Scheider.
With a
Roy Scheider. This would be a very different
Roy
movie.
Scheider is not Rob Schneider. Roy Scheider. Anyway, back to it. He's such a great actor. Like, he projects
Rob Schneider.
No, yeah. If there's, should we recast this movie for? But Roy Scheider, God, the actor who plays Brody, is so good at portraying that trauma in such a way that he just seems so, I don't want to say downtrodden on everything, but he's very reluctant, like you said, to be a hero.
He's not like your classic stoic hero. He kind of has some pain in his eyes. He seems like he's always tired. He's getting berated from all sides at like every point in the movie, and you can see him just like, he just sort of like listens and takes it all in, whether it's the mayor, the townspeople, his wife. He's just sort of like, he just like nods through it all, but he also has like a really strong face. He has a very authoritative face, So even though he looks kind of sad and he gives you those puppy dog eyes, you never
Yeah.
feel like he's a weak character.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I like that because he does. He's not a weak man, but he clearly has vulnerabilities.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And he's probably extremely just, I mean, like you said, he gets it from all sides. And it's almost, I don't want to say he's like a defeated man. He's trying, but God, that's exhausting.
Yeah. He just always seems exhausted.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah.
Just trying to save people from getting eaten by a shark and
trying to do the right
nobody
thing.
cares.
And regardless of what he thinks the right thing is, somebody's going to be disagreeing with him.
Well, I don't know. I don't want to jump ahead too much here, but the scene
Jump the shark.
Where yes. Well played. The scene where the mom slaps him and takes out her pain and from her son getting eaten by a shark, and oh, that makes me so mad.
Yeah, it wasn't his
Mayor's
fault.
the mayor's standing there going, she's wrong. Well, yeah, she's wrong. It's your fault.
Yeah, it's your fault. She should have been slapping your face. God.
Oh, man.
No accountability for that guy.
Right.
No, none whatsoever. Typical politician, He makes all the
Gets away
bad
with
decisions.
everything.
He forces people into the water. There's literal blood on his hands from like a child's blood on his hands, and he doesn't even he doesn't have the, for lack of a better word, he doesn't have the balls to take the blame for what he did, to be accountable. He's he has no honor. He has no he deserves no respect, and his suits look terrible. Very 70s. I forgot how 70s this movie
I was going to say in the 70s they were probably very flashy, but yeah, they're pretty bad.
Gloriously 70s. All of the fashion is gloriously 70s.
This like you watch a lot of classic movies and you're like, oh, like it doesn't totally feel like it's stuck in a certain place and time, but this movie is way more 70s than I remember it being. You watch and you're like, oh yeah, these people are like super 1970s, and it's awesome.
Yeah, I don't know, there's something about that though that makes it seem very, I don't want to say nostalgic because I was not alive in the 70s, but there's something that adds a little bit of something to that film, that it's very dated in terms of its era. So I enjoy it. I'll watch some movies from the 80s and stuff where I'm like, this is a terrible movie, but I love the aesthetic of it because it's so like just the hair and the clothes and even the music. And that alone will make me like a movie more than the actual like movie itself. Not that Jaws has that problem, but there's just something about the clothing and even like the cinematography to me is kind of has that kind of, I don't want to say shaded, but that kind of, oh, what kind of tone is that? I can't really think of it, but there's just something about the whole look of the movie that really adds to like the thriller feel of it to me.
It sort of feels like, and this is one of Spielberg's like early movies. This is the one that put him on the map, obviously. But you can tell that he's still sort of working some things out in terms of the voice of, what kind of filmmaker he will eventually become. But there were moments where it kind of felt like Brian De Palma could have directed this, and like maybe Spielberg was hanging out with De Palma more in 1975 and he was taking more tips and stuff from him. But it doesn't totally feel like a Spielberg movie, or at least like what we would know Spielberg movies to become. It definitely feels like still a little rough around the edges, even though it's, an absolutely incredible, damn near perfect film.
Yeah, I could see that because it is very different from what he's doing today.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would say some of that has got to be attributed to the fact that just filming the movie was incredibly rough. So,
oh yeah, he learned a lot from this.
Turned out as polished as it looks has got to be a miracle.
Have either of you seen Duel? Have you ever seen Duel? His first.
I know. Was that his first movie?
His first movie. It's for a first-time director. I mean, it's not a perfect movie or even like a really great movie, but it's pretty good. Like that movie alone, you can sense that he had a lot of talent for suspense. and I think he did another movie after this and then Jaws. So I saw Duel several years ago for the first time. I was like, I can see now where that inspiration in Jaws came from in terms of building suspense. So if you ever have a chance to see Duel, I would recommend it. It's pretty good.
Nice.
Yeah.
I will add it to my watch list. An early recommend, not an official recommendation.
1971, not an official recommendation, but just a Ramona
side one
recommendation.
RJ, you mentioned that the filmmaking was kind of tough, like all the behind the scenes stuff. I've heard a little bit about that, but I don't know if you have any other details or insight that you can share with us about the struggles that sort of went into the production, filming, making of this movie.
So I've read things that about basically the technology seemed to be kind of against them the whole time. I know they had a ton of problems with the shark, which is, I think, part of why we don't see the shark for so long. Is that they couldn't get it to do what they wanted to while filming. And by the way, does everyone know that the shark's name is Bruce?
Because yes, I love it.
It just delights me. I don't know why. But I don't know. I don't know any specifics just off the top of my head. But I just remember reading an article, and I may have watched like a behind the scenes thing at some point about how just kind of everything seemed to go wrong during filming, and I think it took a lot longer than it was supposed to.
I think it did too. Yeah,
we still got a beautiful movie.
There was, I know that there was a threat of a Screen Actors Guild strike that year. So they were pushing him to get it done in like a month and a half before a potential strike happened, which I know made things more difficult too. And I think that it had maybe in 1975 it wasn't too small number, but I know the budget was really small too, like $3 million. So when you have a shark that's not working, everything seeming to go wrong on set, it's really impressive that he was able to put together the film that he eventually put together.
This is where his legend is born. This is, we wouldn't have 80s cinema, 80s movies, 80s pop culture as we understand it without Jaws working the way that it did. This is the first puzzle piece for what ends up becoming one of the most celebrated careers in movie making history. And it really is spectacular that all of it worked out, even with all of those troubles. It's also like, if you just sort of read this movie on paper, it probably shouldn't work that well. And I don't know, it ends up being really spectacular, but it's sort of like, it has like a weirdish ending. The plot is like, again, like Brody is like, there's a lot of mystery around him. You would think that your main character would maybe be a little bit more fleshed out or drawn out. But even with all that stuff, like, Spielberg still delivers one of the best movies ever made. And like, by all accounts, this movie shouldn't work as well as it does.
Yep.
I think all the things that went wrong on set maybe added to how good it ended up, because they had to make so many changes. Spielberg pulled back on showing the shark as much because the shark wouldn't work the way they needed it to. And I think that made it all the more scary not seeing it all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Can you imagine if we saw the shark in, like the second scene or something? In the whole movie, you're just like, wow, that's,
like, okay,
there's a really big shark out there.
Yeah. You don't really see much of it. And when you do see all of it, it's at the end, I think. And that's when you're like, holy shit, that's a huge shark.
Yeah.
Which then brings that iconic line. But it works so well. The fear of the unknown is much scarier than seeing something face to face to me.
Yeah. Although seeing a shark face to face is
I
scary.
hope I never do that. So I wouldn't know. And I hope I never do. Just seeing them in pictures, I can't do it.
Yeah. They're weird looking things.
They're
even the baby ones
they're horrible.
Like
It's a
they're gonna
strange
just
looking
eat
creature.
your face off.
Oh God. Ugh.
What do you guys think it means about this movie that there are essentially no other great shark movies? There are barely good shark movies. And there's Jaws and then there's everything else. I think we spoke about it during our Jurassic Park episode, but like there's like Deep Blue Sea, which is like a fine movie, is like top 5, maybe top 3 shark movie because there just aren't good shark movies.
Yeah.
It's true.
When I was
Go ahead.
trying to figure out recommendations, I was looking, have I seen any other shark movies that are even semi decent? Deep Blue Sea is the only one that I could come up with, but even that one is, I mean, you know, it's a fun movie to watch, but it's not a good movie.
It set the bar so high.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, like you mentioned earlier, probably being the first summer blockbuster and being as popular as it turned out to be. And then not only that, but being as good as it was, that every filmmaker wanting to make a shark movie after that, that bar set so high. And I think so many of them strive to make it there and just, you can't. I mean, if you try to mimic Jaws, it's already been done. So if someone's going to see another shark movie, be like, okay, well, I saw this already in Jaws, and Jaws did it better. So I think these days, making a shark movie is just about being as insane as you can be, aka the Meg, kind of going for that. Like just going to a ridiculous length to make something quote unquote different than all the other shark movies. And it doesn't work because there's something about Jaws that's just so simple. It's just a shark in the water and it's hungry and it's big and that's it. But Spielberg is unmatched. Like he takes that and he makes it so scary and suspenseful. And I just don't, even the best directors today, I just don't know that they could make Jaws today. You can't. You just don't touch it.
It's weird. I was trying to think of like the specific aspects of Jaws that sort of sets it apart. You know, like I said, the characters they're not flat and 2-dimensional, but it's not like a character driven movie. The thrills are like, you know, that must be what sets it apart. The way that the thrills are sort of set up and the way that they play out throughout the movie. The pacing is really good in terms of like how much shark you're seeing, when you're getting shark attacks, and sort of what's happening in between all of that stuff. But it's really hard to find like a specific thing that sets this movie apart. I guess part of it is just because it came first. So, you know, like you said, this is like the first blockbuster movie. Like blockbusters weren't really a thing before Jaws. You know, there were great big epic movies and things like that, but there wasn't like the movie that was like, oh, you know, you have to like go see this, you know, 7 times with all of your friends, and you have to take different groups of friends, and people are lining up around the corner outside of theaters, and all that stuff. So not only is this the only good shark movie, but it also ushered in like a new sort of era of movies and like the movie watching and the movie going experience. You know, now all of the biggest movies come out in the summer, and it's all because of Jaws. You know,
yep.
It's so wild to think about.
They're still trying to recapture that magic, and I think that there have been some blockbusters that really got up there with the whole, you know, going with your friends, getting in line. You don't really have to do that anymore. With reserved seating and streaming, but I kind of miss that era of wanting to get tickets and get there early because we want good seats, and you kind of bond with everybody in line, and that hasn't happened in a really long time.
Like the buzz of word of mouth, and you know, you ride your bike over to your friend's house, and you're like, hey, I just saw Jaws, you know, we got to go see it, and then you all ride your bikes to the movie theater, and you sit there and you're sitting there and you're just looking up in awe, and you're scared shitless because of the shark, and you can't see it sometimes, and you do see it and it's massive, and they're like, we're going to need a bigger boat, and you're like, hell yeah, you're gonna need a bigger boat. Of course you're gonna need a bigger boat.
Well,
It's just all wonderful.
So I think something that sets it apart from, the other shark movies and even its sequels is that there is more realism in Jaws. Like the shark is massive, but it's not so massive that, there are great whites out there that are really, really big. It's not a 35-foot great white, as I think happens in one of the sequels. And I kind of disagree that it's not character driven. I think that the characters, they're well written, they're well developed, and I think that without Brody, and the actors all do a phenomenal job. Even the mayor does such a great job of being such a jerk, and Quint, like they make them, if what happens outside of the water was not done as well as it is, then the scenes with the shark attacking people would not be as impactful.
I think you agree.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think you bring up a great point. I probably am wrong about the characters. I'm willing to eat that. And you mentioned Quint, and I think we should circle back on him. I think we should have the Quint discussion, because he is like, kind of makes the movie sort of like what you were saying, without those scenes in between, then the shark attack scenes don't really feel as impactful. And I think the obvious most impactful out of water scene is when they are technically on water, but when he gives that monologue about why he hates sharks, and it's essentially revealed to us that Quint is in a revenge movie. Like, he's in like Quentin Tarantino's Jaws. Like, if you were making the movie, it would just be all about Quint and his vendetta against sharks. So, let's jump into Quint. What else do you guys have on him, his monologue, and just how weird and kooky
Quentin Tarantino's Jaws, except it'd be called Kill Bruce.
With Rob Schneider starring as the sheriff.
As the shark.
Rob Schneider.
I want to see that movie, but I feel like Quint's story adds such a different layer to the entire movie that without it, it would be more hollow. Because without, so Quint Steele he was on the USS Indianapolis, which delivered the bomb that was dropped on Hiroshima. And, it was after it delivered the bomb, it was struck by 2 Japanese torpedoes and sank. 1,100 men went into the water. 317, I think, survived, and the rest got eaten by sharks. That is the essential, monologue. That is a true story, and it is, try not to cuss, it is terrifying. I cannot imagine the horror and
helplessness.
Yeah, and if I would want to spend the rest of my life killing sharks too, I think. Just to get one back for all of the friends that got eaten, and
he paints such a very clear, distinctive picture of what they went through. Like, during that monologue, do you even breathe? Yes. You know what I mean? Like, you are sucked into the delivery of it. I mean, Robert Shaw was fantastic. Just his description, and it's just like, holy shit, that's just that monologue. You kind of picture yourself in a situation that's so much more terrifying than what they're actually going through in that moment. Because right now they're only dealing with one shark. And just imagine being out, and they're in a boat. Like, imagine just being stranded, nowhere to go, no one's there to save you. I mean, and you either drown or get eaten by sharks. Like, you're going to die. It's horrifying. And I think that's one of the best scenes in the movies. Like, I when I rewatched Jaws, I was just like holding my breath. I had forgotten how good it was.
Even the setup. I mean, it goes like, they're sitting there, comparing scars and laughing, they're drinking, and it's, they're actually kind of having a good time, and then all of a sudden it goes, just dead still, and he's recounting one of the most, horrible events that one can imagine. And he does it just, whoever wrote it, first of all, it's just the way it's written, the way the monologue is structured is fantastic. It is phenomenal writing.
So good.
And the delivery is, he's spectacular.
And you really are. Sorry.
I think he was drunk for most of the filming, by the way.
It works.
Very well.
Yeah.
You have to be drunk for that. For that
to
role.
stay in character. Yeah.
I think so.
Hooper's face during that monologue is amazing because that's totally how we feel as audience members.
Yep. He was us in that moment.
Like you said, RJ, like they're having fun, they're drinking, maybe they're singing songs at that point, and then it's weird. Like you don't even see the monologue coming, or you don't see that turn coming, and it just sort of happens, and you're totally taken aback by it. And then it feels like that monologue goes on for like 5 minutes. And, I watched this alone, but I was still like looking around. If there was someone with me, like I feel like we would have looked at each other like, what the hell is going on? Like, what is this crazy guy saying? And I feel like that's how Hooper and Brody are looking at each other while this guy's speaking. Like, holy shit, that came out of nowhere. And I was not expecting that. Total vibe killer.
Yeah. Very sobering. Very sobering.
Also, so much makes sense right now. Oh, so that's why crazy.
That's why he is the way he is. That was originally a 3-page like dialogue between all three of them, and then they cut it down to they turned it into a monologue for Robert Shaw. So I can't imagine. I don't know how you tell that story in just dialogue between the three characters after seeing just the monologue. So I thought that was an interesting piece of trivia, that they had 3 pages of him explaining the story to those two, and they just they trimmed it down and made it what it is. And it's one of the most powerful scenes in the movie, if not the most powerful scene in the movie.
Yeah. It's so much better as a monologue.
Yeah.
What would the dialogue even be? Them going, and then what happened?
Right. Oh, really?
Really?
Okay, well, what happened next? Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
And I'm trying to remember, because I read the book years and years ago, and I'm trying to remember if that was in the book or not, but I can't remember. It's been so long, and I didn't really enjoy the book. So
I've never read the book.
Yeah. Robert Shaw actually was not going to take the part of Quint because he did not like the book either. But then his wife convinced him to do it. So he did it. So women know everything. It's fine. But I found that interesting. I was like, well, at least I'm not the only one, because the book is supposed to be this classic, right? And I read it and I was like, what? I did not enjoy it. The best part of that book are the last, I think, 100 pages when they finally get to the shark. So I'm not going to recommend that in our official recommendations. So do not read Jaws. Just watch the movie. Just watch the movie.
I think I have it on my bookshelf, but I have never read it.
You're not missing much.
Well, that's good to know.
Yeah. They took
all these years. I was just
they took the best parts of the book and made the movie. It's very faithful to the book in terms of the shark. I think in the book there, Brody's wife and Hooper have an affair. And it's just, there's a lot of, and that's actually a big part of the book. I'm like, why am I reading about this? I don't know, whatever. So there's just a lot of, they really improve the characterization of the characters in the movie. And obviously it's hard to convey a scary shark tale in written word, I think. And for the most part, when they're hunting the shark at the end, it's really fun. But the rest of the book, I prefer what they did with the movie. So this is one of those instances where you can say the movie is better than the book.
That's what most book adaptations for movies should be. You should take a pretty crappy book and then turn it into a really good movie.
Yes.
Yeah. Instead of taking a really good book and turning it into a kind of crappy movie.
Yes.
Exactly.
When are they going to learn?
Yeah. All of the best movies are from crappy books.
Yeah.
I always say that. Jaws, like anything that Stanley Kubrick made is like based on a book that not a lot of people love. The Godfather, like Jaws, Jurassic Park, like all the best movies.
Yeah.
Take a crappy book, make a great movie. It's perfect. The formula's right there.
Potential is there. Yep.
So I feel like this movie is kind of doing the Vertigo thing where maybe not as pronounced as Vertigo, but it's sort of a tale of two movies. Like the first half of the movie and the second half of the movie could be two distinct movies on their own, but it sort of works perfectly. And I don't know, do you guys have any thoughts on that? Like which half of the movie do you guys like more?
The last half.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think that there's so much buildup of the first half that it makes the payoff at the end so much more enjoyable and scary.
Oh yeah, the first half you get the suspense. Not seeing the shark a whole lot. You get the music, which is also iconic. But the end, I mean, it's out there. You're at war with this thing now, and you get to see it and know what they're up against, and it's just, maybe it's because I have that shark phobia that it just makes it worse for me in a way. But I just think, like you said, RJ, the payoff of all that build up is spectacular. It's just so good. It's hard to imagine saying, oh, well, this half is better than this half. I know I prefer the second half just because everything's coming to, a conclusion, but it as a whole, it works so well. And that's I'm going to say horror movie again, but to me, that's the mark of a great horror movie is when you're building to something worse than you've already seen. And you just have no idea what's going to happen. And my palms are sweaty and I'm ready to see how it's going to end. That's what makes it such a great horror/thriller film for me.
Is there a scene in particular that fills you with the most dread?
Ugh.
Or like a single moment?
The opening scene with Chrissy. And honestly, I always close my eyes when they don't really show it, but I always close my eyes when the little boy dies. Especially after becoming a parent, like that.
Yeah.
That really, I'm going to admit that I did fast forward that part last time I watched it because it's just it especially because I'm going to the ocean in September and my girls are old enough now to go out in the water by themselves that I'm just like, I can't do that because they'll never get to swim if I do that to myself. But also the scene underwater when they find the head floats up.
Oh God.
And it's not even the best scene in the movie. But for some reason, when people say Jaws to me, that immediately pops into my head. Because you don't know what's going to happen while he's down there. You don't know what he's going to find. You don't know if that shark's coming for him. And then all of a sudden, there's a head. It's floating up there. It is terrifying. That scene probably scares me more than most of the others. Because I'm waiting for that shark to appear out of nowhere. And it never does. But he's been there.
RJ, do you have a most dreadful scene?
I'm with Ramona as a mom. To me, the most dreaded scene is when the little boy dies, and they actually, I just rewatched it this morning, and I guess I probably look away most at that part because I didn't realize that you actually see
the blood and
more. And you see him like coming up out of the water and flailing and oh God,
it's horrible.
So the other scenes are
really
scarier, but that one is just more heartbreaking to me.
I think the worst part about that scene is that to me that might be some of the best directing that Spielberg is doing in the entire movie. And you're just like, Steven, you son of a bitch. Like the way that it's like the editing in that scene is incredible because you have people walking by Brody, and at first every time someone walks by, the next cut will be a little bit more zoomed in on Brody, and then you'd have someone walk by and it would cut from Brody's face to the people in the water, and then someone would walk by and it would cut back to Brody. And like the way that Spielberg is using people passing the screen to cut between the people in the water, Brody's face, the mom's face. It's just like a total masterclass, and he's totally building the dread. And then you start to hear the music, and that's the first time that you hear that sort of cue to let you know that there is danger in the water. But at that point, you don't know. And then the kill happens so quickly that you're kind of taken by surprise. And then you get that great, again, I'm going to reference Vertigo, but you get that great Vertigo shot with the zoom in of Brody's face, but like the camera's also pulling back. So like the background is sort of zooming out, and you're like, Steven, you absolute, like, you little devil, you, how could you do this to us? But also, how could you be so good at making a scene, at crafting a scene? It's so rude, but it's so amazing.
It is very rude.
How often maybe I haven't seen enough horror movies, but how often do you see a little kid being killed in a movie?
Yeah.
Even horror movies, it's like, what are you doing? Dogs and kids are off limits.
Well, and the dog gets eaten too. You don't, like, before the kid gets attacked, there's the guy that was throwing the toy for his dog out of the water. And then you see him standing there calling his dog, and his dog's nowhere to be found.
Oh, you know what happened to that dog.
It's also only 20 minutes into the movie, which feels like that, we have the opening kill, but then this is really like the first kill. It feels like it's too early for a first kill in this movie. It feels like we should still be building up and learning about our characters a little bit more. And instead Spielberg's like, I'm going to
remind you.
I'm going to remind you that this shark is awful, and we're going to kill off a dog and a child.
You know what? Watching that movie when I was little, obviously it did traumatize me, but seeing the little kid get eaten, I was like, oh my God, because the whole thing, I was like, oh my God. If I would have sat down for the very first time to watch this movie now, as soon as that scene happened, I would have turned it off. I'd be like, nope, can't do it anymore. I can't do this. I'm not watching this movie ever. And I went to see, I'm not giving away spoilers, but I went to see The Boogeyman with my sister last weekend, and there is a child death in it. And my sister looked at me, she's like, what is this? I was like, I don't know. I didn't know that was going to happen. She was ready to get up and leave, and she doesn't have kids. I was like, that's the same with Jaws. It's like, you see this happen, you're like, there's a whole beach full of older people that you could take out. Why are you focusing on the poor little kid with his poor mother? Like, it's heartbreaking. And that's, again, you're not just killing off the people you hate in this movie, which is also a great horror movie when all the idiots get killed, but you're killing off these innocent people and the poor little puppy. And it's just, it's so realistic, and I hate it.
And the scumbag mayor gets to live.
Right. Exactly.
And is still the mayor in the second movie.
Same mayor.
I think, yes,
he got reelected,
and he still wants to keep the beaches open. Kids are dying, kids and dogs, and this guy is like, yeah, but the small businesses.
Oh, America.
So before we move on from that scene, I think the horror just kind of continues as the people panic to get out of the water, and you're just like shoving people like. I think at one point this old guy dumps 2 kids off of a floaty to steal it to try and and that sort of thing is happening everywhere. There's old man knocked down and getting trampled on, and it's awful. But that's realistic.
It's survival instinct, but it also is showing true character of what people do in a moment of panic and how they respond to it.
Yeah. No one tries to help the kid. Well, the kid's gone. But...
Oh, God.
And then the one poor mom just standing there frozen, screaming in terror, holding her little toddler.
Yeah. Get out of the water.
Jesus. Also, another great piece of directing in that scene, Stephen, is Brody at the edge of the water.
Yeah. Yelling
for everyone to get out. Like, we know he's a hero, but sort of like what we understand from movies and how we've sort of been taught to watch them is that a hero in that moment would most likely jump into the water to try to save people. But because Brody is so traumatized by his past, he's still just standing at the edge of the beach telling people to come in, which is like just a brilliant little piece of filmmaking that's happening right there.
That's a good point. I didn't think of it like that. That's a good idea.
Yeah,
Yeah, I can see that. He's just at that edge. He's not ready to dive in and be a hero.
He really doesn't want to get in the water.
Point. Yeah.
I think for me, one of the most dreadful scenes is, I think it's after that attack, but it's when, I think it's on the actual 4th of July when the mayor is encouraging everyone to go in, and we know that the shark is still out there, and Brody doesn't let his son go into the water, and he tells him to go play in the pond, and then there's the false alarm with the kids who are messing around, which is just a great little bit because
it's hilarious.
Yeah.
Because of course that's going to happen. Of course there are going to be two jackasses who would think it to be funny to pretend to be a shark. And I would love if there was a scene of them when they get home and their mothers and their reactions. Like their moms were furious. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that scene in the pond when I forgot the son's name, but when the son is in there and the younger son is, there's something about the innocence of the younger son that makes that scene so much scarier. Even though he's not in the water, every time it cuts to him, I get terrified. Like I think that the shark is going to somehow
come out of the water
land and get the little kid. But there's just something about there's something about his face. I don't know. It makes everything so much worse and so much more tense.
I think, that was very purposeful. Make you wonder. I mean, the fact that you're wondering if a shark can get on land or come out of the water and get that kid, like it could happen. Get out of it. Just go home. Stay in your house. It's not safe.
We don't know what magical powers this evil shark has.
Right.
It's capable of anything.
Killed a kid already. And a dog.
Yeah. And a dog.
It'll do whatever.
It's ruthless.
Yeah.
And that poor guy.
Yeah.
Poor random guy.
So the older brother is Michael and the little one is Sean.
Oh, and Sean's the one who dies in the revenge.
Oh
yep.
No.
He gets his arm bitten off and then he dies. I think he was a cop too. I think he had become a cop as well.
He's so cute in this first one.
Yeah, R.I.P.
So in Jaws 3D, Dennis Quaid is playing Michael, the older.
God. What? Okay. All right, Cousin Eddie. That's sad. Wait, did you say Dennis Quaid? Oh my God, yes. I was thinking Randy Quaid. Thank God. Okay. Oh my God. I am not good with names today. Rob Schneider and Randy Quaid in a Jaws movie. Let's do it.
Randy Quaid can be in the Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
Kill Bruce.
Kill Bruce.
Part 1.
One other thing that I wanted to circle back on. I feel like we have to spend a little bit of time here because, of course, is the music.
Oh yeah.
Is this like top 3 most iconic music cues in any movie? Like you hear that and you're immediately filled with dread.
Yes.
What would be higher on the list? Is it?
Yeah. I mean, you think about movie scores and the most famous movie scores. And maybe it's just me, but sometimes I'll hear something and just be like, oh, that's from this movie. And then I'm like, no, it's this. Oh, okay. Yeah. I knew, I recognize it. But when you hear the Jaws theme, you know exactly what movie that's from.
Yeah.
Exactly. Even if you've not seen Jaws, you know it's Jaws.
Yeah.
I think it's weird because like while rewatching this, the entirety of the score is like okay. But that one specific theme that we all know, and I'm not going to try to recreate it because I would horribly butcher it, but that one specific theme where you know that something is coming, where you know that the shark is coming, that is some of the most iconic movie music ever made. I think the only things that are up there for me are, and we spoke about it during this episode, but I think it's Rocky and I think it's Star Wars. Yeah. I think the opening Star Wars music is some of the best stuff ever. Rocky Gonna Fly Now, you like automatically know what scene that's from, and you know like what to do. Like you just want to get up and punch something. And then the Jaws music, those, what is it, 2 notes? You know that you should be scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like even if you're not in the water, you're about to be eaten by a shark.
You know what's going to happen. And movies, especially horror movies, one of the things that I've disliked about horror movies lately is the use of scary music right before something scary happens, because it gives away the scary part. Like I know it's coming now because you have the really eerie, ominous music happening and this kid's walking down a dark hallway. Of course, something's about to jump out at him. But it's so effective in Jaws because even it tells you the shark is nearby, but you don't see it. And you don't know what's going to happen. And it's, to me, that is scarier than any other kind of horror movie moment, music moment I've seen since that movie. It just doesn't, maybe Jaws spoiled me because Jaws told me when the scary music starts to be scared.
I was about to say, is Jaws the one that trained us to know this?
Jaws has trained us to understand that when the scary music starts to hide under your blanket or, whatever. But now I'm so used to it. Now I know it's going to happen. I'm like, okay, I already know it's going to happen. Like you're giving it away now.
It doesn't have any fake outs. And I think maybe it's more effective because I think it's only used like once or twice. So.
Well, maybe the kid's acting like a shark is a fake out, but it's in a funny way.
But I don't.
But then immediately after that, right after the kids do that, that's when the girl starts screaming that the shark is going into the pond. So,
oh God, yeah.
Like it's not overused. Fake if there were like 5 instances of that song playing in this movie, by the 5th time you'd be like, I'm bored.
Oh yeah, they only use it when they really.
It's only used a few times, so it's that much more effective.
This is going to be a stupid movie question, but I'm not a huge Star Wars person. Did John Williams do the Star Wars theme?
Yeah. Yes. He's Spielberg's guy.
Can you really think of any other composer who has made as many iconic music scores as he has? I mean, there are a lot of great composers out there, but when you think of like Raiders, Star Wars, Jaws, Harry Potter, I mean,
oh wow.
John Williams. Like, and I'm sure I'm missing plenty.
Jurassic Park.
Oh yeah, Jurassic Park has a great score. So is he the GOAT of music composers?
So. I think that's easy. At least in terms of, I'm not a musically inclined person, so I can't say if what he composes is like the most artistic or whatever. But in terms of creating iconic, memorable songs that we all know, and like you said, like you hear any of those and you know exactly which movie it is, and you hear the Jaws music and you're like, and you know exactly how to feel. You're like, oh my God, I'm scared. It's so good. It's
terrifying.
Absolutely terrifying. What else do we have? We've sort of jumped around back and forth between sort of the two halves of the movie. One thing that I do think is interesting is that I love that in the 70s, a movie like Jaws could be PG, despite the fact that you see a fully severed leg. Like it is like very gruesome, and you see you see a head floating around.
And
I think in the beginning you might see a kid dies, a dog dies. I think there are breasts in the beginning. There's a lot of gore.
Yeah.
There's a lot of blood. There's not a lot of cursing, which I guess is the one thing. But yeah, PG. You think that's a kids movie? Who's sitting their kids down to watch Jaws? It's terrifying.
The world has a lot more sensitivities today than it did in 1975.
Yeah.
We can't handle as much now, so we got to throw that into an R rating.
I find myself Ramona, I'm sure this is probably something you can relate to, but movies that I'm like, let's see, what's the rating for this? When can I watch this with my kids? And like, no, they can't watch that. And then I look at when it came out and I'm thinking, oh yeah, I probably watched that when I was 7.
Yep. I watched Jaws when I was very young, very,
Yeah.
very, very young. I saw Carrie when I was very, very. I was in second grade when I saw Carrie, so not my parents. They were horror people. Like they watched horror movies when we were little, and it was. I saw Carrie, I saw Jaws, I saw The Exorcist when I was young.
Oh, wow.
You know, they would have to deal with the consequences of it, but I saw these movies
Yeah.
And
when
you're
I
a
was
better
little, and
person because of it.
I feel like I have more appreciation for it now. I was scared when I was young, and I grew up loving horror, and you know, it's mostly my parent, which is very odd because I saw Jaws, Carrie, and The Exorcist, but they wouldn't let me watch Scrooged until I was much older, and I was like, oh, there's something about this movie. And then when I watched Scrooge for the first time when I started dating my husband, I was 22, and I watched this movie. I'm like, what the hell? Like, why did you keep this from me? What was wrong with it? And somebody said they probably curse in it, which is very telling about parenting sometimes. Is my kid can watch a head being severed
Yeah.
off, but if they say the F word or they
Yep.
show any
Nope.
boobies, you know,
And
I don't know. It's
you know,
very strange. I never asked them why, but yeah, I was exposed to horror as a child, and I don't know what kind of person that has made me today.
I like your use of the word boobies.
Boobies. Yeah.
It's a funny word.
I have 3 kids, and my husband is still a child at heart, so I hear that word a lot.
It makes me giggle. Jaws is missing some boobies.
Well, I mean, it has the, you know, in the beginning.
Yeah, but it's dark
underwater
out.
movies, they're there.
Yeah, they're there.
We needed Quint to, you know, just, I don't know. So how about
boobies?
Hooper?
Like, where are you going with that?
We need Quint to what exactly?
Hooper was an interesting character, huh?
Yes.
He's kind of a dick, isn't he? I don't know. I mean, he's fine. Maybe I'm thinking of Hooper in the book. Hooper in the book was a dick. But I thought Richard Dreyfuss was great as the character.
Yeah.
I love the balance between those 3 men.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. Their personalities, their occupations, just how they go about, you know, how they want to approach finding the shark and what to do with it. It's just, I thought they all blended really well together.
Yeah, you've got.
I think Hooper doesn't really. I mean, there's some, you know, jackassy kind of moments, but they're followed by someone else not taking him seriously in regards to the fact that there's a giant shark that is killing people.
Yeah, so
I feel like
kind of understand it.
Yeah,
you can understand it. That's true.
But it is interesting because you've kind of got in Hooper, you've got the fancy, I'll call him a sort of coastal elite kind of character. He's all about his science and his books, but he's never really gotten his hands dirty. And you kind of see that when he finds the head, he like shrieks and immediately swims up to land. And then you've got Quint, who's been to hell and back, and he's your blue collar guy. He's street smart, you know. He's experienced things with his own eyes, with his own hands and everything. And then you have Brody, who sort of exists somewhere in between. I feel like Brody is a very emotionally intelligent man, which is, I feel like, something that wasn't very prevalent in movies in the 70s. A guy who he's kind of quiet. He's sort of not outwardly inquisitive, but you can tell that he's really like soaking everything in before he like makes any decisions about what's going on or what he should be doing. Which so like you have the two who are total opposites, and then you have Brody as a perfect sort of bridge between the two.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and I feel like there's kind of in line with what you're saying. There's several scenes, you know, when they figure out it's a shark, he's reading, like he gets books about sharks and is trying to
he's learning,
learn about them and understand what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
And I like the emotionally intelligent description. I feel like that's very, very good. Yeah. Even the way he interacts with his family, with like the scene is like the most adorable scene where he's at the kitchen table, or not, at the dining room table with his son, and his son is mimicking all of his movements, and
Yeah.
I mean, you can tell like it was the scene, I think, after he got slapped by the mom, and he's obviously really not having a great day, and
Yeah.
but he's able to kind of come out of it and interact with his little boy, and have a nice little moment.
Yeah. It's very humanizing. Not that he needed a lot of humanizing, but it shows you that he's not cold to what happened. Like
Mhm.
he's going through it, and you know it, but he's still able to be there for his son. So I love that moment.
He is a wonderfully human character.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it for a movie at this time, and even sort of going forward, it's kind of refreshing to see a protagonist, a male protagonist in a otherwise like pretty dude heavy movie, to be someone who is as human as he is, someone who isn't just the stoic guy who is able to solve everything so quickly, and or just like use brute strength to solve all of his problems. Like you can tell that he's a really human character, and it's awesome to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, ladies, I don't have anything else in my notes. I don't know if you guys have any other topics on Jaws that you want to get to before we start to wrap things up here in our season finale of the Canon and Essentials movie watch list. Wow. How about that?
This movie is not a movie like Jurassic Park where if it's on, I'll watch it. I try to actively avoid this movie because it scares me so much. And I'm not lying when I say like I have a major shark phobia because of this movie. And people who know me very well know that if they just text me a picture of a shark, I'll probably start crying. Like it's a real
Wow.
thing. And it's because of after I saw this movie for the first time, I slept on my parents' floor for several days, and they had this might be showing my age as well, but they had a waterbed, and I would not get on this waterbed. I would not sleep on this waterbed because there could have been a shark in this waterbed. So it was, it was one of those things that this movie just dug itself into my brain. And as an adult, obviously I know better. But if I go into the ocean, I go to knees or hips. I do not go past that, especially if I can't see in the water.
Yep.
And I'm always looking at the horizon for something. And I think that's a testament to how scary this movie really is. Just the suspense, the shark attacks, the ending. Yeah, they blow up the shark, but there's other sharks out there. It's not the only one. It's not like this mutant monster that, once they kill it, everyone's fine. Obviously, as we've seen, because it had three sequels. So, but this movie, even though like I said, I actively avoid having to watch it. I don't watch it if I don't have to. It's still one of the best summer blockbuster movies, and maybe movies of all time, that I've ever seen. Like I can appreciate the master. I don't want to say, is it a masterpiece? I don't know, but I appreciate what it is for sure. And that's a testament to Steven Spielberg.
All praise to Spielberg.
Yes. Yes.
RJ, any final
except
thoughts
for
from you?
I hate E.T.
Wait, what?
E.T. terrifies me.
Oh, E.T. scares you?
Yes.
The friendly little alien that just wants to get home is scary?
Terrifying.
Oh my god, this is amazing. We can unpack this. I feel like I need to be your therapist. Let's talk about what happened to you.
Yeah, I couldn't explain why, but he has always just scared the hell out of me.
Oh my. I'm scared by Bruce the shark, and you were scared by the extraterrestrial.
Yeah.
Okay, this is great.
Um,
Spielberg.
Okay, so the only other thing that I wanted to talk about is the lines. They're just some amazing lines. And does this movie feature the most epic, movie line of all time? Am I wrong? Are there other lines?
Right. What's the most epic one?
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
Oh, it might be the most epic.
I don't know, but there and my other favorite one is smile, you son of a boom.
BITCH.
Yeah. Try not,
for kids who don't know how to spell yet.
Yes.
Those are two of my favorite lines in that movie as well.
But I mean, I think even if you haven't seen Jaws, surely you've heard someone say you're going to need a bigger boat in some context.
Mm-hmm. It's a great line because you can use it. You're going to need a bigger blank for anything.
Oh yeah, and you say it though, and people know what you're talking about.
Yeah, unless they're a loser. Sorry, that was unnecessary.
You better cut that. You're going to have people after you.
Only the losers, and that doesn't matter.
Yeah. I'm sure if you're listening to this, you're probably a fan of Jaws, so you know the line.
Yes.
Another good one is Quint when he's I can't remember exactly, but something about the taxidermy man. He's gonna have a heart attack when he sees what I brung him.
Yeah.
Like after they spot Jaws for the first time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a great one.
His delivery is like the only thing he says happily throughout the whole movie.
Smile, you son of a bitch might be my favorite because you're just waiting for that shot. It's so good.
That is a wonderful catchphrase for a kill.
Yep.
The only thing I want to add is the scene or the shot where Brody's throwing the chum in the water, and then you see the shark, and he turns around, and then it cuts to him like standing up straight. Is also one of the best moments in any movie. That is just absolutely delightful.
You see that shot a lot when there are movie compilations of famous scenes throughout history or something. It's him throwing the chum and that shark coming up and him turning back and standing real fast.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I haven't seen enough of Hitchcock's movies, but it had a very similar feel in terms of the shots that he made. Like you said earlier with the Vertigo shot, like you can see some of that inspiration in Jaws.
Yeah. 100%. Probably Spielberg's good friend Brian De Palma telling him, just make it more Hitchcockian.
Hitchcockian, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that was a pleasure. Happy 4th of July week. Hope everyone had it's weird to wait until the end of the episode, but I hope everyone had a good 4th of July, even though we sort of poo-pooed the holiday at the beginning of the episode, but that's okay. As long as you weren't getting eaten by a shark, you had a better 4th of July than the kid whose name escapes me at the moment from Jaws. Alex, poor Alex.
Poor
you had
kid.
a better 4th of July than Alex if you didn't spend it getting eaten by a shark. I think we covered it. I think we covered Jaws.
We did. It's so good.
So good. Before we say our final goodbyes for season 1 of the Canon, we'll do one last recommendations. The listener, before we get into recommendations, I just want to say a big heartfelt thank you for sticking with our show through our growing pains, our ups and downs of season 1. We promise season 2 will be a lot better. RJ, Ramona, thank you guys for joining me on this last episode and for all other episodes that you have joined me on and might join me on in the future. It really has been a lot of fun. We're looking forward to more episodes of the Canon. You can check out our entire backlog of episodes if you haven't listened to them all already. We'll be back in about 6 weeks with more movies. We're just gonna give our production team a bit of a summer break so that they can go be on holiday, as the Brits say, and enjoy the summer. The joke there is that we have no production team.
It's you. You enjoy your summer.
It's just me. But yeah, this has been so wonderful. I am you might not be able to hear it in my voice, but I am smiling from ear to ear. Sweet. Let's do recommendations. How about it? Who wants to kick us off?
RJ, you want to
go?
Yeah, I can go. So Ramona can figure out her.
I got a third. I think.
Okay. Well, I'm going to start with a recommendation it's somewhat tongue in cheek, but there is a book that came out in, I want to say, the 90s. It is called Meg, a Novel of Deep Terror.
Yes.
And it is not I've never seen the movie Meg, and I don't think it's based on the book, but it's, a scientist is in the Mariana Trench doing whatever research, and somehow he stumbles upon megalodons still living down there in the deep, and accidentally helps, makes it possible for them to get up to the surface, or at least one of them, and then can't convince anybody that it actually happened. And so there's just this, massive megalodon running around eating boats and people and things. But it was actually a fun book. I read it, I believe I was in high school, and it's not, I would not say the height of literature, but...
Did you see the movie? Did you watch the movie, The Meg?
I did not watch the movie.
Okay.
That sounds like a fun read. A nice light summer read.
Yeah.
Take it to the beach.
I would not read it at the beach, but I also hate the beach. So I actually think the worst part of the beach is not being afraid of the sharks. It is the sand that gets everywhere. But that's just me.
Bringing the sand home. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's my first recommendation.
Awesome.
Nice. Ramona, what do you have?
I am recommending, my first recommendation is Cujo. And this is you can read the book by Stephen King, or you can watch the movie. They're both equally great. A sweet Saint Bernard gets rabies, attacks a mother and son on a very hot summer day, forcing them into their car for shelter with no way out. So if you want a really happy ending, then watch the movie. And if you would like a very depressing ending, then read the book. So you get your choice.
Nice. Choose your own adventure.
Yeah, it's a choose your own adventure of horror. So it's great. I love the book, and I enjoyed the movie quite a bit. It's always terrifying when a otherwise docile, sweet animal turns violent and comes after you. And this dog kills a lot of people. So it's also very suspenseful, which parallels to Jaws. So my first recommendation is Cujo.
Nice.
And another movie where the dog dies.
Yeah. But he was also crazy, so I didn't feel so bad about it.
So it's not as bad.
No.
Oh, it's like I Am Legend.
Oh, God, you had to bring that up, didn't you?
Yikes.
Oh, gotta go hug my dogs after this.
Yeah. Everyone hug their dogs.
Yes.
All right. On a lighter note, my first recommendation is I'm going to go with a place. So we're talking about Jaws, shark movie. Where can you go see sharks that are not as scary? At the aquarium. I'm recommending the Sydney Aquarium in Sydney, Australia, because I think that's one of the best, if not the best aquarium that I've ever been to. They have a room where they have a shark room where you're like walking through a tunnel and the sharks swim over you. And that's where like some of the bigger sharks are. But then there's another room where you're walking through same sort of like hallway tunnel thing, and the aquarium glass is both above you and below you, so you're just like surrounded by fish, and some of the fish are smaller sharks. It scared the crap out of me when I went, but it is also super cool. I know that we don't have a lot of listeners who are in Australia or have ways to get to Australia. So as a sort of pairing with that recommendation, I will just say go to your local aquarium, because aquariums are dope. And sometimes you get to see sharks, and you know that the sharks aren't as scary when they are at the aquarium. they don't they're not as much of a danger. So check out your aquarium. Why not?
It's a good idea.
Not
I love the
as
aquarium.
much of a danger.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm
that
a
was
big
qualified.
aquarium guy.
Yeah.
Good aquariums all around the US. Mystic, Connecticut, great aquarium. Baltimore has a wonderful aquarium. Charleston, South Carolina, pretty good aquarium. I think that's all that I have for now. But yeah,
That's
those
great.
are, I mean,
Yeah.
all on the East Coast, but good aquariums.
I feel very inadequate about the number of aquariums I've been to now.
Don't. I'm
I've
just a
only been to
weirdo,
one.
and I love doing, like, every city I go to, I have to check to see if there's an aquarium because I'm a bit of an aquarium nerd.
That's awesome.
The one in Chicago is pretty awesome.
Oh, nice. I have to check that out. Sweet. RJ, what's your next recommendation?
All right, my next recommendation is in honor of Quint and his naval experiences. It is not about the USS Indianapolis, but it is U571.
Oh my
Oh.
goodness. Yeah. Remember that movie.
Nice.
So Matthew McConaughey and a bunch of other people in a World War II submarine playing cat and mouse, I guess, in with a German their German counterparts in World War II.
Yeah.
And it's a very good movie.
Good
I
choice.
remember that movie. Yeah. That's a good
never seen it.
recommendation.
Claustrophobic, so it's
Yeah. Submarine movies give me the willies.
yeah, it's a little hard to watch for me, but it's very good. So I make do.
Wait, sorry, I missed that. Why is it hard to watch?
Oh, I'm kind of claustrophobic. Like,
Oh,
it freaks me out. The whole,
Yeah. Submarine.
being in a metal tube, hundreds of feet underwater, and
Yeah.
people shooting missiles at you.
Yeah, that's definitely not an ideal situation to be in.
No. Ugh.
Nice. Good pick. Ramona, what's your next recommendation?
So my next recommendation is a novel. It's called The Deep by Nick Cutter. And to sum it up, there's a plague that is decimating the world. And I won't go into the details of it because it's pretty gruesome. But there is something at the several miles deep in the ocean that could potentially be a universal cure for this plague. So basically, there's a special research lab that's set up in about 8 miles under the ocean to figure out how to work this into a cure. And suddenly, the scientists in this research lab go incommunicado, and a few are sent down to figure out what has happened to them. And they come face to face with a very terrifying predator, so to speak. I don't want to give it away. So it's gruesome. It's a little gory, but it's really good. It's suspenseful, I think, like Jaws, and a better book than Jaws. Not a better, movie, obviously, but I would recommend The Deep by Nick Cutter.
Nice.
Yeah,
that sounds good.
Yeah, it sounds really good. Also, probably not a beach read.
No. I no. I'm glad I read this during the winter time, so I'm not thinking. I'll try not to think about it when I go to the ocean.
Don't think about it there. Okay. I was going to say I'm going to go with something a little bit lighter, but I'm actually not going to. I'm going to go with another movie about guys on a boat who are experiencing some difficulties. What is it about the ocean that makes men go crazy? That it's not necessarily something that happens in the movie that I'm going to recommend, but it seems to be a theme. Like, why do people still go to sea? It seems like the only thing you're asking for is insanity. But that's a weird,
it's beautiful,
and death.
Yeah,
it's
death
serene,
and insanity. Yeah,
but it's also the unknown all around you, and nothing. Especially when you're out on the ocean, you don't see land. I mean, you're completely helpless to whatever is beneath you. So I think that would drive anybody crazy.
Yeah, that sounds horrible.
It does. It sounds awful.
Speaking of death, but not insanity, my second recommendation is The Perfect Storm with Matthew McConaughey and George Clooney. Just guys being dudes out at sea on a boat. And some not so great things happen. But it's a fun little flick. I haven't seen it in a while, but I remember it being a lot of fun to watch.
I cried a lot during that movie.
Yeah, I've only seen it once, but
I've seen it once, and that was enough. Yeah, very sad. Isn't that based on a true story?
I think so.
Oh God.
Yeah. Not fun.
No, but a good movie.
All right, maybe for our last round, we'll have some happier recommendations.
That's
let's RJ.
Unfounded optimism right there.
RJ, give us something good. Give us something good and happy and fun.
I could skip my turn if that's what you're looking for, but I don't have that for you. I'm sorry.
All right, let's hear it anyway.
I went back and forth between two ideas, and neither one of them was very optimistic. Well, I guess maybe, but not the one I chose. So my last recommendation is a movie called Open Water.
Oh God.
Which I'm recommending, although I've only watched it once and was so horrified that I could never watch it again. But so and it also based on a true story.
Yep.
So two divers are, they're on a diving trip, and the boat leaves them behind, and so they are just drifting in the ocean for a few days. And it's so almost, or most of the movie is just them floating and being terrified, and it's
that sounds pretty awful.
It's absolutely as awful as what I can imagine being lost at sea and just floating there is like.
I saw the trailer and I knew, I was like, nope.
That might actually be my worst nightmare.
Yes, because I know, like you said, that was a true story, and it's just horrifying. Going out with a bunch of people to dive and enjoy yourself, and you come back up and everyone's gone. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no thank you. No thank you.
Oh God.
Nice.
So there's your happy recommendation.
Did you like the movie? I know you said you only saw it once, but did you enjoy it?
It was a good movie.
Yeah.
It was very good. It was just
rough.
Yeah, it was just very rough to watch. And I can enjoy it and appreciate it, but I don't want to feel like that again. So
won't be watching again.
Will not be watching it again. But I think it's worth a watch if you can manage to get through it without, having a panic attack.
I would have a panic as soon as they surface. I'd have to turn it off. Be like, nope.
Whew, that's you got to be brave for that one.
I'll give you an optimistic recommendation.
Oh, please, we need it. After RJ scared the living crap out of us.
My third recommendation is Arachnophobia.
Oh, come on.
No. I'm done.
Nature photographer dying in Venezuela, poisonous spiders coming back home with him in his coffin. And of course, our protagonist is a doctor who has arachnophobia. And of course, he's got to be the one to fight off this infestation of poisonous spiders. And I've only seen this movie a couple times, but I don't hate spiders as much as I think some other people do. My sister has an insane spider phobia. Insane. But I've watched this movie and I love John Goodman and I like Jeff Daniels, and it's just it's a fun horror / comedy. So there's a little bit of an uplifting optimism because it can be gruesome and it's pretty nasty, but it's funny, and I think it has an okay ending. So there is death, but it's still fun. So I would say I'd go for Arachnophobia if you want something other than sharks and the ocean.
Sweet.
I am also pretty severely arachnophobic, and I'm almost certain it's because of watching this movie.
Yeah, Jaws got me that phobia, and I get it. Arachnophobia. I could see how that could trigger somebody.
Sharks and spiders. What fun.
Yeah. Like if there was a shark spider movie.
I'm sure there has been on Sci-Fi.
Yeah,
Sharknado. I'm not going to recommend Sharknado.
I almost did.
I promise. Okay. I have so many options. I don't know if I want to go with something like another sort of horror movie that's pulling from Jaws or something shark related. I think I'm going to go with one of my lighter ones that is a little bit shark related. I'm going to end us with a very, very positive, happy note. Something that is friendly for the whole family. I'm going to go with Finding Nemo because the shark in Finding Nemo is named after Bruce the shark from Jaws.
Yay!
Yes!
That's a great recommendation to end on. Love it.
Who doesn't love Finding Nemo?
I love Finding Nemo.
Absolutely.
Great
That's
flick.
Awesome recommendation.
Except, you know that scene where Bruce's eyes roll back? Like, no, I'm serious, man. That gave me problems.
Oh no!
My husband was like, "Are you serious?" I was like, "I can't watch it. Like, I can't."
I love their meeting. I love that
it's so cute.
The sharks
and then he
are
gets
having
all,
their little AA meeting.
Yes. Then he gets all sharky.
Yeah, but it all ends well. So
it does. It's a great movie.
Wonderful movie. Very delightful.
Yes.
All right, let's do a quick summary of our recommendations, and then we can say our final bye-byes. We'll go same order.
I'll go first. I had, oh my God, I forgot what I had for a second. Okay, I'm starting over. I had Cujo, the movie and or the book by Stephen King, The Deep, which is a novel by Nick Cutter, and the movie Arachnophobia.
I had Meg, a novel of deep terror, the movie U571, and the movie Open Water.
Nice. Mm-hmm. I've got the Sydney Aquarium, the movie The Perfect Storm, and the lovely Pixar film Finding Nemo. RJ, Ramona, thank you both again for joining me for, again, this very special final episode of season 1 of the Canon. We will be back in a couple of weeks with more Canon episodes. All of your favorite Screen Age Wasteland contributors will be back to talk to me. We'll have more friends from outside of the Saw community joining us to talk about various different movies. It's going to be fun. I can't wait. You can't wait, but we will have to wait for a couple of weeks.
That's fair.
It's fair, right?
It's fair. Yeah, it's fair. We all need a break.
We all need a bit of a break. Maybe people want a break from hearing from me and all my silly movie takes. I hope you both have a wonderful rest of the summer. I'm sure we'll be, chatting throughout. Again, listener, if you're missing us, you can always check out screenagewasteland.com for more content from RJ, Ramona, and myself, the Triple R's, and and all of our other Saw contributors. A lot of fun stuff happening over there. Thank you for joining us. Ladies, any final words before we say bye-bye?
Nope. I just want thanks for having me on again. It's been fun. I've enjoyed being part of the Spielberg crew.
Yes, the Spielberg crew. Triple R is doing triple J's for Spielberg. Triple R is doing double J's for double S. Double J's for double S.
Yep, it's been a blast. I've had a lot of fun talking about 2 movies that inspired me and horrified me in very different ways. So it was great. I am looking forward to hopping on another episode and having more fun.
Wonderful. Until next time, we will... I feel like every movie podcast signs off this way, but I'm going to say it anyway. Until next time, we will see you at the cinemas.